All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into Walter Isaacson's incredible book, The Innovators, to tackle a really big question. Where does innovation actually come from? Let's get right to it.
Isaacson starts with a point that I think we can all feel. The word innovation is everywhere. It's become this total buzzword, and it's kind of drained of its real meaning. So our goal here is to cut through all that noise. And we're going to start by taking on the biggest myth out there, this idea of the lone genius who has a sudden eureka moment. Because as we're about to see, that's almost never how the real breakthroughs happen.
Okay, so if it isn't the lone genius, what is the secret ingredient? Well, to figure that out, we have to go way back. I'm talking more than a century before the first electronic computer was even a thing. To meet a woman who saw the future. And here she is, Ada Lovelace. I mean, talk about being caught between two different worlds. Her dad, the famous poet Lord Byron, literally made fun of her for being into math. But her mom, a mathematician herself, totally encouraged Ada's passion for machines and numbers. So Ada is standing right there at this amazing crossroads, the intersection of the arts and the sciences. And that right there is where the magic really starts.
It's because she had this one-of-a-kind perspective that she could see what nobody else could. 100 years before anyone else, she looks at a machine that's just supposed to crunch numbers, and she sees poetry. She imagined it could be a partner for human creativity, that it could compose music or even make art. She had a name for it: poetical science. And this core idea, this partnership between human imagination and machine power, that's the thread that's going to weave through our entire story.
So Ada's vision was powerful and singular, for sure. But what Isaacson shows us again and again is that turning a vision into reality, that's a team sport. Individual genius is a great spark, but it's almost never enough on its own. Just look at these two guys. On the one hand, you've got John Atanasoff. Absolutely brilliant, but he worked in isolation. He was so close to finishing an electronic computer in his basement, but the project just fizzled out. And then, on the other hand, there's John Mauchly. This guy was a natural collaborator, a team builder. He visited Atanasoff, soaked up his ideas, and then he went and built a team.
And wow, what a team it was. The machine they built, the famous ENIAC, was an absolute beast. I mean, to get this thing working, they had to assemble, get this, 18,000 vacuum tubes. Yeah, we're not doing that by yourself in a basement. But here is the really crucial part. That giant pile of hardware was basically just a very, very expensive space heater until this team figured out what to do with it. These 6 women, Betty Snyder, Jean Jennings, Kay McNulty, Marlon Westkoff, Ruth Lichterman, and Frances Belas, they were the very first programmers. They were the ones who actually turned a machine into a computer. Okay, so we've got vision and we've got teamwork. But there's another piece to this puzzle. Innovation needs the right environment to even exist, like a fertile ecosystem. And Isaacson shows us that the digital age was kicked off by 2 really different, and often clashing, kinds of ecosystems. First, you have the establishment's innovation triangle. It started with the government pouring huge amounts of money into basic research. That money then flowed into universities, and they in turn partnered with big corporations to turn those wild ideas into actual products. This top-down approach gave us massive projects like the ARPANET, which, eventually became the internet. But that's only half the story. Because at the same time, you had this bottom-up revolution happening, and it was fueled by the counterculture. This newsletter from the time just captures the attitude of the hippies and the hackers and the hobbyists perfectly. Time to change all that.
See, for them, this was the core belief. Technology was not supposed to be a tool for some centralized power. It was supposed to be a tool for personal freedom, for the individual. And while this rebel mindset didn't build the government's ARPANET, it gave us something just as world-changing: the personal computer.
So this clash of cultures between the establishment triangle and the rebel hackers, it sets up the defining fight of the entire digital age. It's a battle we're still in today, really. And the question is, should new ideas be open and shared freely, or should they be proprietary and protected?
So on the proprietary side, you've got a young Bill Gates. When these hobbyists at the Homebrew Computer Club started passing around copies of his software for free, he wrote this really fiery letter, straight up accusing them of theft. And you can see his point, right?
He's asking, how can anyone build a business and do professional work if nobody pays for it?
But the Homebrew Club was coming from a completely different universe. Their moderator, Lee Felsenstein, had this motto for sharing software. For them, it wasn't a marketplace. It was a common good. Sharing wasn't theft. Sharing was the whole point. It's how you made everything better together.
So you've got this incredible ongoing tension. The open model, which says sharing everything makes innovation happen faster for everyone, and the proprietary model, which says protecting your ideas with patents, gives you the financial incentive to really invest and make amazing products. What Isaacson argues, and this is so important, is that we don't have to pick a winner here. In fact, it's the competition between these two ideas that actually pushes progress forward.
And that brings us to our last and, maybe the most important ingredient of all. We're coming full circle now, right back to where we started this whole thing, with Ada Lovelace and her poetical science.
More than a century after Ada Lovelace, Steve Jobs built one of the most innovative companies on the planet on that exact same principle. He always said that technology by itself just isn't enough. It has to be, in his own words, married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, to create something that makes our hearts sing.
He literally imagined Apple standing at an intersection of two streets, Technology Street and Liberal Arts Street. He understood, just like Ada Lovelace did all those years ago, that the innovations that truly last, the ones that change the world, come from appreciating that beauty and design and the human experience are every bit as important as the code and the processors inside.
So, when we ask where innovation really comes from, the answer isn't some lonely lightning strike of genius. It's collaborative. It's born from teams. It grows in these dynamic, competitive ecosystems, and it truly comes to life in that magical space where technology and humanity connect. The great innovators of the last century connected the arts and the sciences, which leaves us with a really big question for our own time. As our machines get smarter and smarter, what should we be connecting next?